Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Youxuan. Our channel is a channel focused on teaching Zhuyin phonetic symbols Mandarin. Before we start our first class, I would like to ask a question. Have you ever wondered what advantage it could bring you if you can read the information in another language in today's modern and diverse international relations? We believe that knowing more about the language of another country can not only increase your understanding of another language, in addition to listening and speaking ability and cultural knowledge, it can also help you read and identify the authenticity of the information from different countries. Therefore, to strengthen learners' recognition of Chinese characters, we will adopt relatively stable and straightforward Zhuyin phonetic symbols in our plan to teach Mandarin, and use the form of analysis to help you memorize the pronunciation and characters of Mandarin. There are 3 lessons in this series. To clearly understand the importance of Mandarin pronunciation system affecting your Chinese proficiency, this series of courses will discuss Zhuyin phonetic symbols, traditional characters, and pinyin alphabet symbols, simplified characters, differences. Based on our decades of practical experience using the Zhuyin phonetic symbols and our understanding of pinyin alphabet symbols, I will explain why you should study Zhuyin phonetic symbols before learning Mandarin in this first lesson of this series. And this lesson will introduce the difference between Zhuyin and Pinyin, the Zhuyin phonetic symbols and Mandarin, and tell you the pros and cons of Zhuyin and Pinyin system. At the same time, I will also introduce a bit of the history of the Zhuyin development to understand the brief history of the Zhuyin. The following 2 episodes of this lesson will introduce the pros and cons of the Pinyin and Simplified Chinese and the learning procedure for the Zhuyin phonetic symbols, and more about the Zhuyin and Pinyin installation to help you have a better understanding the difference between Zhuyin and Pinyin and the actual learning process of Mandarin. So please check out our episodes and make sure you click that subscribe button. Okay, let's start. Let's head to what's the main difference between Zhuyin and Pinyin. In brief, regarding the Chinese characters, the earliest Chinese written record was found in Xi'an, China, in 1986. The Oricon bone inscriptions were discovered in China, Shang Dynasty, around 1600 BC to 1046 BC. That's about 4,000 years ago. After more than 4,000 years of changes, traditional Chinese characters are classic Chinese characters for now. Mandarin is also called Chinese, Beijing dialect, the national language of Taiwan. There were many local languages in China, and Mandarin was one of the local languages. It was Beijing accent from the northern part of China. After the end of the Qing dynasty in China, the official language Mandarin was chosen by the new national government in 1918, before China and Taiwan divided. After that, the CCP government seized power during the Chinese Civil War to popularize a new simplified Chinese character and pinyin system, although both China and Taiwan still use the Mandarin pronunciation system. However, the traditional Chinese character and Zhuyin phonetic symbol system have added another simplified Chinese character and pinyin system. Contrasting traditional Chinese inheritance, the Chinese official's adoption simplified Chinese characters was in 1956. To reduce the learning time of Chinese characters, the new government that China took over, the State Council of the Communist Party China, announced the adoption of simplified characters, about 66 years so far. That is to say, the significant differences between Zhuyin and Pinyin are as follows. First of all, I think you need to understand the two major transliteration systems for Mandarin Chinese, Zhuyin and Pinyin, just like there has DJ and KK phonetic symbols in English. Secondly, based on the historical relationship between China and Taiwan in general, Zhuyin phonetic symbols and traditional Chinese just are only used in Taiwan or some parts of Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Macau, and most Taiwanese overseas. In other words, simplified Chinese and Pinyin are mainly used in China, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Macau. Third, Zhuyin has 37 phonetic symbols, 21 37 are the initials, and 16 37 are the finals. But the Pinyin has 63 alphabet symbols relatively in the Pinyin system, and 37 63 of them are the initials, 23 63 are the finals, 16 63 are the compounds. Well, the symbols all look like the English alphabet, right? But their pronunciation is entirely different from the pronunciation of English alphabet. Like the English letter B is pronounced as B in Pinyin, the sixth letter T is pronounced as T, the 19th letter Z is pronounced as Z in Pinyin. Fourth is the format. People used to place the Zhuyin symbols on the right side of a traditional Chinese characters as the method of Zhuyin in Taiwan, and set the Pinyin alphabet symbols below a simplified Chinese character in China. On this page, the meaning of the two traditional Chinese characters on the left side of door line is traditional Chinese. The first traditional Chinese character, Fan, means complicated in English. The second character, Ti, implies phone. And then the meaning of the two simplified characters on the right side of door line is simplified Chinese. Its first character, Jian, means simplified, and the second character, Ti, implies phone as well. So that's it. You may understand both the learners of Zhuyin and Pinyin, traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese. Most of them can read the other's words and definitely understand what the other person said. But eventually, how do we choose to start with learning the conversation, or start with the Zhuyin phonetic symbols, or Pinyin alphabet symbols? Alright, let's dig a little deeper into the Zhuyin phonetic symbols system. Zhuyin phonetic symbols, or you may call it as Mandarin phonetic symbols, or nicknamed Bopomofo. In ancient China, there was no nationally unified form of pronunciation symbols. So in 1911, after the end of the Qing dynasty, in the new Republic of China era, the ROC government promoted the Mandarin Chinese movement to unify China's local languages and intonations. In 1912, the Ministry of Education, the ROC, convened a brief education meeting and passed the procedure of adopting Zhuyin phonetic alphabet. At that time, the calligrapher and the speaker of the Unification Conference, Zhi Huiwu, who prepared this form, referred to many Chinese ancient books and Japanese pronunciation methods, created some of the pronunciation and glyphs, and then integrated them into Zhuyin phonetic symbols. After all, they announced the Zhuyin phonetic symbols to be the national alphabet in 1918. Well, it's a brief history, the development of Zhuyin phonetic symbols. Then let's think about the pros and cons of learning Zhuyin and traditional Chinese characters. The advantages are: Number 1. The Zhuyin only has 37 phonetic symbols, but they can form all the pronunciation of Chinese characters, and you just need to remember 37 symbols Zhuyin. Just like you need to learn the 48 symbols of the katakana alphabet if you want to learn Japanese. Number 2, you will have a better pronunciation of Mandarin. The Zhuyin phonetic symbols are different from the other language system, so it's not easy to confuse your native languages or English. Like, your English will cause interference in your Chinese pronunciation. Eventually, the sounds in Pinyin are different from the English alphabet. It's easy for you to use British or American accent to speak Mandarin, and it's easy to cause misunderstanding by others. Also, especially in Mandarin, a difference in tone may become another meaning, and it won't be easy to correct your accent back. Like the pronunciation of these 3 Chinese words. Yes, 真, 整, 整. Sounds similar, right? But they have entirely different definitions. Number 3, we can also replace each Zhuyin phonetic symbol with the Pinyin alphabet. Both Zhuyin and Pinyin are designed to correspond to the tonal pronunciation of Mandarin. So relatively, the Zhuyin can be converted to Pinyin, which means you can also use Pinyin to assist you in memorizing the pronunciation of Zhuyin. Meanwhile, it means you learn Pinyin at the same time. Another example, the word I or me in English all use the Chinese character 我 to express the same meaning in Mandarin. Whether in traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese, they all are the same in their glyph, and all means I or me, and the pronunciation of word in Zhuyin has the same pronunciation in Pinyin. They all pronounce 我. The Zhuyin phonetic symbols of 我 are 乌 plus O plus the third tone equal to 乌 O 我 我 the third tone 我. Well, about this kind of 4 Mandarin Chinese tones, I will have another lesson to introduce it to you. The Pinyin alphabet symbol of 我 is 乌 O 我, so its pronunciation of 我 has the same sound as Zhuyin 我. That means the pronunciation of 我 in Zhuyin is precisely the same as 我 in Pinyin. That also means you could learn these 2 phonetic symbols simultaneously as well. Number 4. Pinyin has diacritics, but Zhuyin doesn't have something complex. It just has a combination of 37 symbols. Therefore, Zhuyin does not need to learn inflection rules, so there will be no confusion in Zhuyin. Then, number 5. The advantage of learning traditional Chinese is that you can easily understand simplified characters and Pinyin symbols. The glyphs of 90% simplified characters are very similar to traditional characters. You only need to memorize a few different simplified glyphs. For instance, the characters 请, 进, and 来. In traditional Chinese, it means please, enter, and come. In English, just like 请, 进, and 来 in simplified Chinese, their pronunciation and meaning are the same. And here you may see the traditional Chinese character 请进来 means please come in English, which is slightly different from the simplified Chinese character. Nevertheless, the pronunciation and meaning of these 2 characters are the same. Number 6. That means you can read all Chinese news, ancient books, and information in traditional and simplified Chinese if you know the traditional Chinese. In 1956, China just began to use the simplified character to popularize the literacy rate officially. In other words, before 1956, all the Chinese books in China and Asia were written in traditional Chinese. And the earliest scripts in Korea and Japan also used Chinese characters, traditional Chinese characters. So if you can understand traditional Chinese characters, you can also understand ancient books and information in Korea and Japan. Okay, number 7. Traditional Chinese characters preserve the cultural significance of Chinese traditions, and simplified characters lose the meaning of hieroglyphs. For example, the traditional Chinese character I means love in English. After the evolution of hieroglyphs, the traditional Chinese character I means to grab a cover to protect you with the heart and friendship. But in the simplified Chinese character of love, we can see that this thought of heart has been deleted. Number 8. The Zhuyin and Pinyin input systems of traditional and simplified Chinese characters can simultaneously coexist on the computer or your cell phone. It's easy to switch modes on the screen, and the Zhuyin input system often has simplified Chinese characters that can be used. However, the simplified input system does not have traditional Chinese characters. Number 9. It can be a secret code. Because few people studying Zhuyin nowadays, you can secretly exchange Zhuyin message with someone who knows Zhuyin. Alright, the disadvantage of Zhuyin are: Number 1. The Zhuyin phonetic symbols have different glyphs, and you need to take a long time to memorize their pronunciation and characters together. Number 2. Some people are easier to give up because they are not used to the phonetic form and pronunciation. Beginners cannot quickly accumulate vocabulary and express dialogue. For instance, my skin is pronounced 我的皮肤 in traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. Still, you should find it easier to read simplified Chinese characters and pinyin symbols than traditional Chinese characters and Zhuyin phonetic symbols. Number 3. Because current population studying Zhuyin is small, few keyboards are left with Zhuyin phonetic symbols on the market. If you prefer to use the Zhuyin system with the keyboard directory. However, you can still find one on the Apple Store or eBay. Comparatively, you can directly use the pinyin input with the English alphabet on your keyboard to input Chinese characters. But for beginners of Mandarin, you don't need to write a whole long Chinese article. It's enough to use the Zhuyin input built in Microsoft Office to practice Zhuyin typing on your mobile phone or computer. Or you may buy unique Zhuyin input stickers with Zhuyin to paste on your keyboard so that you can use the Zhuyin system directly on your keyboard. Fourth, because fewer people learn Zhuyin, it is also challenging to find apps for Zhuyin phonetic dictionaries on mobile phones. In addition, it isn't easy to find Chinese dictionaries with Zhuyin symbols marked next to Chinese characters on the mobile app. Still, mobile Chinese English, English Chinese dictionaries like Yixi Dictionary can be used by inputting Zhuyin. Alright, that's it. Our first lesson about the difference between Zhuyin and Pinyin, the pros and cons of Zhuyin and traditional Chinese. And then, The next episode is the second lesson of this series. I will explain some history about the pinyin alphabet symbols and the pros and cons of pinyin system. After that, in the third lesson in this series, I will provide our suggestions for the procedures of studying Zhuyin, including how to install the Zhuyin and pinyin input to your cell phone and laptop, and some critical information about the dictionaries, the photons of Mandarin, vocabularies, sentences, quizzes, copybook, or reading, such learning methods. Okay, that's all for today. If you have any question about the course, suggestions, or comments, please leave a message to me. And please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. See you in the next episode.